a really big one is boundaries. We talk about boundaries as if they're a real thing, as if they're like completely removed from their therapeutic context. And I've talked to people in relationships or had people give pushback that like, well, I don't allow my partner to do that because I have boundaries. No therapist would ever sit down, no psychologist worth their salt would ever sit down with you and agree that you're allowed to put boundaries around other people's behavior that has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he's not allowed to go out with that friend because I don't like that friend or whatever. That's not you. That's not on you. You don't get to have a boundary around that. You get to have a boundary around things that take care of you. And so, like, that's kind of like where the start of that comes back to this. I want to insure myself against all risk. And
are you saying that you can't ever ask your partner not to do something?
This next place that I want to go, and this is something that I'm going to do something here. I think one of the biggest problems of the 21st century is therapy speak leaving the therapist's office.
Okay.
We throw around gaslighting like a word all the time. And we use it in the wrong way.
I love that.
And that was like a term
that
was
my favorite hobby.
Dude, that was a term that was specifically invented for therapeutic reasons and for like a therapy space. It doesn't belong in normal, regular conversation. You're using it like a weapon. Same with, things like, oh, I'm trying to find myself. What does that mean? What are you talking about? And the next one, and this is like a really big one, is boundaries.
Boundaries.
We talk about
the B word.
We talk about boundaries as if they're a real thing, as if they're like completely removed from their therapeutic context. And I've talked to people in relationships or had people give pushback that like, well, I don't allow my partner to do that because I have boundaries. No therapist would ever sit down, no psychologist worth their salt would ever sit down with you and agree that you're allowed to put boundaries around other people's behavior that has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he's not allowed to go out with that friend because I don't like that friend or whatever. That's not you. That's not on you. You don't get to have a boundary around that. You get to have a boundary around things that take care of you. And so, like, that's kind of like where the start of that comes back to this. I want to insure myself against all risk. And
what do you think about that, Johnny? Are you saying that you can't ever ask your partner not to do something?
No.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that your reason for doing so should be because you think it's a genuinely bad thing for them. It's got nothing to do with you. You have to treat yourself like a partner, not like a boss. Partners don't tell their partner what to do. They tell them why they think something is not a worthwhile endeavor. And that's a very big difference, and we're missing it left and right, and people do this all the time. And it's really like, it's like toxic, It's you.
Super toxic.
You think you're, dude, first of all, they have no obligation to even stay in their relationship with you.
Or worse off, they put a boundary on their partner because of their own insecurity.
Yeah.
Rather than something that's actually a threat to their partner.
Right. And so there's so many of these boundaries that I've seen that are like, and it's so funny because people are lying to themselves. Like, I get a kick of them. Well, I let him flirt on like Snapchat and stuff because like that, that's not really that big of a deal. But he could never have dinner one-on-one with a female. That's a date. I don't like that.
Oh man.
What? What if it's a coworker and they're talking about a project? Is that a date? Like, it's just nice to talk over a meal. And like, so I had an episode on Average People Talking that was titled "The Case for a More Open Relationship," and I made the point that I don't think everyone should have an open relationship in my sense. But what we're doing in relationships, we've become too tight and too restrictive, and what we're comfortable with, like thinking our partners should or want to do. And like that restriction is actually what I think encourages people to be more dishonest, because you're so closed-minded, and like if that person wants to stay loyal to, I promise you the reason why anyone's ever cheated has like never been because their partner was just way too free and let them get away with whatever. Like it has nothing to do with those reasons. Like that's not, you changing what you allow your partner to do with their time is not going to change whether or not your partner is loves you and is loyal to you forever. I think it'll make it worse. You will probably push them towards eventually dumping you, leaving you, or cheating on you.
Yeah. Someone's own dishonesty about their own insecurity is going to proportionally increase someone else, their partner's dishonesty towards the first person.
Yeah, because we don't want to hurt your feelings. That's our natural reaction.
And we also like have our own needs as a singular human being that someone else's insecurities are bounding.
Yeah. And it can also cause us to skew things that are like genuinely signs of a good person. Like, so I'll give you a funny example. This is from my first marriage. A girl after work had a problem with her car. And when I say problem, I mean like that shit was smoking in the garage.
Yeah.
And like, you know, she's doing the girl thing of just pure panic of like, oh no, the situation's like way over my head. And so I stayed an hour after work, helped her get it figured out. Got like, hey, I don't think this thing's drivable. I think you need to get it towed. Like, helped her just kind of resolve the situation. I was like, I know it's a garage. There's lots of other, you know, you don't want to be sitting here in a garage alone. So I'll wait with you till the tow truck comes. Like, just being a genuinely helpful person.
Yeah.
That got turned around as, you know, you should have been at home with me and the kids and this, that, and the other thing. A thing that should have been a surefire evidence of you've got a great guy who's willing to sacrifice his own time to do a good thing for others, you know?
Yeah.
And it gets turned into, you know, because there was like that trust had started to erode because of other things. It was like, I don't know if I, you know, trust the situation. Like, who is this girl? And like it doesn't matter. She was somebody who needed help. The irony is she was way out of my league and would have never been interested in me. We were like completely different people. Like, you know, like there was just like no chance that there was even anything there. Like she was not the girl you had to worry about.
I love the it's always, and the irony of that is the girl they will worry about. And the more that they are out of our league, the less that you would actually have to worry about them.
Yeah.
It's always like the trope of like the much hotter character in a movie compared to the main character's wife, you know?
Yeah.
And what tells me that this is movie magic is because that much hotter character is interested in the main character.
So let me close with some facts of why you can't insure your, like, just to kind of wrap this point of here's why you can't insure yourself against risk. Okay. Overwhelmingly, the average length of the typical affair is 2 years. So someone has been literally living a double life underneath your nose and you couldn't see it. So you can go through their phone, you can do all that shit you want to do, and you're wrong. Like, you're not going to catch people. It's never been easier to hide this, sadly. Mm-hmm. Number two, it's typically someone they know close personally, a work friend, or, you know, someone they used to know from something like that. Like, it's not typically this random person that they just started talking to. That's almost never the case. Because of course it's not. It's really hard to develop those kind, like, even somebody you're going to end up having an affair with, that takes time to actually like build on that or get to that point. Like, it's not like the movies where somebody meets them and they like lock eyes and then the person's like, I don't know, I feel bad about this, what my wife think, and then they give up in like 5 minutes and they're in bed. That's not how it works.
Right.
Most of them are also driven by unmet emotional needs, not unmet sexual needs. It's the most common misconception about cheating.
Always. Almost always, I should say.
Yep.
But yeah.
Yep. And by the way, him not sleeping with you in the bedroom is actually the opposite of that. It turns out when people start cheating, they tend to be more frisky with their life partner.
Because they get emotional needs met?
Yeah. And so they feel better, and so they get like a little bit more sexually active.
Interesting.
And so there's actually like overall sex goes up with their partner at home.
Wow.
There's a lot of people who actually sometimes report that the best years of their marriage was like the year right before it came out that they were cheating, because like things started to seem to get better, and then they're like shocked by how did this all go wrong.
That's so unreal, but it makes so much sense. It's just blowing my mind.
I did all this into research when I did it. You know, like when I cheated for the first time, is like, what is the cheater side of the story? And this is things that people don't know. And if you did know it, it would make you realize that all the little things that you're doing to try and like avoid ever being cheated on is just fruitless, silly endeavors that don't work.
And in fact, encourages it.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, like, if your woman sees you have a generally playful interaction with another woman in front of her, she'll freak out about it or get upset. But like you're saying, the chances of that turning into something more is so much higher than like just someone you already know.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
So then you might be
so
asking
much lower, I should say,
the question, hey Johnny, like how do I avoid this? Well, the way you avoid this is by creating such an open and honest space for communication with your partner that they tell you before they want to sleep with somebody else that they do want to sleep with somebody else. Wow. And how much honesty does that take? How much vulnerability does that take? Because if you don't have it in your relationship yet, it might not be cheating that ends you. It's going to be that lack of communication piece. You need that space of honesty in your relationship. And it's the thing everyone always tells, like, that hears me and Micah communicate. It's like, they're like, how you two are like so upfront with each other and like honest. And it like shocks them. And it's like, yeah, that's what it takes.
I think the non-monogamous space of people would say that's an inevitability that will come up. And therefore you should have such an open and honest relationship that it can come up without blowing things up.
Yeah.
And then the monogamous space of people will say, if you have for the people who are very sure they want to remain monogamous, you can agree that having such an open and honest relationship will prevent somebody, is the best prevention for preventing somebody from wanting to do that. And therefore it might never come up.
And that is the point, is if you're both committed and loyal to each other, like that is the type of thing that will encourage it never to happen.